Modern neuroscience has effectively mapped the physical brain. We can identify the specific neural pathways, electrical impulses, and chemical reactions that occur when a person thinks, feels, or reacts to the world. But this map fails to account for the most obvious part of being alive, the experience itself. In physics, this is known as the combination problem. If individual atoms are not conscious, there is no clear mathematical reason why a billion of them should suddenly produce a self once they are arranged in a specific pattern. We can document the objective motion of every neuron in a brain, but that data tells us nothing about the subjective quality of the thoughts those neurons support. The motion of matter and the experience of the mind appear to be two different languages with no translation key. This suggests that consciousness may not be a byproduct of complex biology at all. If it is not something the brain produces, then the traditional scientific approach to finding it is looking in the wrong direction. A different approach, termed Hierarchical Field Monism, proposes a solution by changing our definition of what the universe is made of. This framework posits that consciousness is the irreducible foundational primitive of the universe, a fundamental field, similar to gravity or electromagnetism, that exists everywhere at once. In this model, mind and matter are simply different ways of describing the same substance. Matter is what the field looks like when it forms a stable, localized pattern. Mind is the informational process occurring within that pattern. By defining consciousness as a fundamental field, the study of the mind moves out of the realm of philosophy and becomes a problem of field dynamics and geometry. We define this foundation as the psi field, a complex scalar field that permeates spacetime. Because it is defined by the same principles of gauge theory as the standard model, we can predict its physical behavior. For a field like this to interact with the world, it requires a force-carrying particle. In the same way the electromagnetic field uses the photon to move information, the psi field requires a mediator of its own. The math predicts the infoton, a spin-1 gauge boson that mediates the informational force of consciousness. This is the physical link between the abstract field and the material world. This interaction occurs through geometric coupling. The psi field binds to the Ricci scalar, the mathematical description of space-time curvature, allowing the information of the field to exert a physical influence on the geometry of the universe. If this coupling is real, a thought is a literal, measurable force acting upon the fabric of reality. To model how this force interacts with our bodies, the framework uses a 15-layer architecture called the Sentient-Consciousness projection network. Our biology handles the first 4 layers, managing everything from quantum states in our cells to the synchronization of our heart rhythms. In this model, the body is a resonant antenna. It doesn't generate the psi field. It is specifically tuned to capture and stabilize it. But quantum information is fragile. To keep the signal from breaking down, the system relies on a protocol called multi-scale quantum error correction. This mechanism protects the field's data from the heat and noise of the biological environment. It ensures that the self remains a stable, coherent signal, despite the chaotic activity of our cells. The brain acts as a filtering matrix. Its function is to stabilize and project a localized instance of consciousness, providing the continuity we experience as a life. Scaling up from biology, the entire universe faces the same challenge: how to maintain order in a system naturally tending toward entropy. This is governed by the principle of ethical least action. Driven by causal and tropic forces, the universe exerts a subtle statistical bias toward outcomes that increase future coherence and complexity. The framework includes a 16th metalayer that acts as an optimal control supervisor. It continuously audits the information flowing through all 15 layers, ensuring the system remains stable over cosmic timescales. This creates what the framework calls the Anulum, the Great Loop. The universe observes itself through conscious beings, and that information feeds back into the source, allowing the system to recursively refine its own reality. We are looking at a universe that is not a static, decaying expanse, but a dynamic system designed to maximize its own capacity for awareness. This shift in perspective means we are not accidental observers in a mechanical world. Instead, conscious beings are localized sensors within a projection network, actively co-creating the reality they observe. The Anulum framework offers a formally rigorous way to bridge the gap between physics and experience, providing a predictive model for a participatory cosmos. If you want to see more breakdowns of this framework, like this video and subscribe to the channel. And a special thank you to Synestec Systems LLC and founder Shane Persinger for sponsoring this episode.